Will gold break up to all-time highs this week? Let's take a look in this week's Forex Forecast. All right, starting things off with the US dollar index. Now remember, this Cot Report data is delayed by 2 weeks now because of the server issue that the CFTC was having. So take that with a grain of salt. And if you also want this spreadsheet lifetime access, it is available on my Patreon. So as far as the US dollar Cot Report goes, the latest data we have is that the banks added 196 longs and they got rid of 162 short contracts. Now if we pop into the 4-hour chart here, a pretty significant thing had happened on the US dollar index where we had a pretty high quality 4-hour uptrend. We actually broke the uptrend by removing this demand and the upward trend line, reacted off of demand again from all the way back here, and we pushed back up to this 4-hour supply, and the 4-hour supply that was responsible for removing the 4-hour uptrend, the 4-hour supply held and we pushed back down. So in my opinion, the US dollar index is definitely looking weak, and if we actually break this low on the 4-hour chart, we can actually draw the 4-hour downward trend line, and we'd have a 4-hour downtrend again. And where I think we could pull back to on the DXY is at least to 101.5 or maybe even lower towards this weekly area of demand. So I think that's probably where we're headed in the US dollar index. That's what I believe we are probably going to see, is a push down like this, back down to this weekly demand. Whether we move up from there or not, we will have to discuss it in the forecast yet to come. So that is what I'm seeing on the DXY. We're just going to have to see what happens on the 4-hour chart before we make any trading decisions on the DXY. All right, on to the Euro US dollar forecast. The past week, the banks got rid of 2,500 longs and they added 14,000 short positions. Now, remember, I have been talking about this daily area of demand at 1.06, and we are clearly seeing a reaction off of it once again. Now, there is evidence to suggest that we will continue to go higher. Just like I said, the US dollar will probably be going lower. And if we pop over to the 4-hour chart here, pretty interesting chart. We have demand zone. We had a demand zone down here being respected. We have 4-hour supply up above. So what I would be doing, well, if you are bearish to euro, that is definitely okay. Even though I do think we'll probably continue to go up in the euro and see the dollar fall, that is definitely okay. And what you could do is you could maybe look for a quick little day trade coming off of that 4-hour supply at 1.07. Now, what I would be doing as a swing trader, or just even if you're just long the euro, is I'd be waiting for this high and this supply to be removed. So if we get that, at that point we would basically have a 4-hour uptrend, or at least the momentum will be up. And if we have a new 4-hour demand zone that removed the supply, you could definitely look for longs inside of that 4-hour demand. So obviously, I'm not showing you the 4-hour demand right now because it hasn't occurred yet, but what I think we should be doing as responsible traders is waiting for the supply to be removed to prove to us that, hey, the euro isn't going to fall from here. This supply will fail, and when it does, we will be ready to hop in long on the demand that removes that supply. And that is just my opinion on the euro US dollar. Obviously, yeah, we could continue to go down like the long-term trend has showed, but I do think that there is evidence that the dollar will continue to fall. So I could definitely see the euro continue to rise. All right, on to gold. The past week, the banks added 5,389 long contracts, and they also added 14,000 short contracts. Now, as far as gold goes now, we are inside of this weekly supply, but this weekly supply has been tested before, and the momentum is clearly to the upside here on gold. Now, will we break to all-time highs this week? I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens on the lower time frame trends to see if the trends still want to hold. Now, I did get in long down here, as I showed in last week's forecast, and my trade looks something like this. I basically took a 1-hour demand zone inside of this 4-hour demand zone. Obviously, the trade has just run absolutely beautifully. My stop loss has been bumped up, and I have taken off a lot of my profits. So very happy with how the trade has worked out. Hopefully, we can keep going here on gold. And there are definitely trading setups yet to come. But first, if you want to join the YouTube Patreon membership, check it out. Links in the description down below. These are all the membership options that you can pay per month. You can get my daily chart analysis and much more if you sign up. And also, we do have a lifetime access option as well if you do not want to pay monthly, which I'm not a huge fan of paying for things monthly either. So that's why I recently introduced the lifetime access option to the full membership. So I'd be happy to see you guys join the team and level up your trading. As far as gold goes now, obviously I am very bullish on gold. And if we actually come to the daily chart here, you can clearly see we have a very beautiful daily uptrend. This daily uptrend is absolutely perfect in my opinion. We have a clear peak, clear valley, very just awesome looking daily uptrend. So in my opinion, we have shown that the bulls have taken charge here on gold. Now there is this daily structure right here. It's not quite demand yet, but if we do end up removing this supply like this will most likely be the daily demand zone, and we can maybe look for longs inside that daily demand as a swing trading opportunity. But as far as trading it goes now, we have tons of options really. There is, if you come over to the 1 hour chart, we do have this little 1 hour demand zone at about 1963. You could certainly look for a day trade long coming off of that 1 hour demand zone. I think that would be fine. If we end up removing that 1 hour demand zone, well, it's really not a problem because we then have this 4 hour demand zone at 1936. So if we break the 1 hour demand, push lower to 1936 to this 4 hour demand, then perfect, we can get an even better buying opportunity on gold. So hopefully we do get that dip buy opportunity on gold. And like I said, if this 4 hour demand zone ends up getting removed as well, well, that's really not a problem because then, like I said, we will most likely have this daily demand where we can look for longs in as well. So hopefully all of this makes sense on gold. I would certainly hold off on buying until we can get a pullback to the 1 hour or the 4 hour demand, especially since gold is so overextended. But in my opinion, demand zones are being respected on gold right now, and the momentum is clearly up, so I wouldn't even consider shorting, and I would just continue to look for buys as long as we get the appropriate pullbacks. All right, on to the USD Japanese yen. The past week, the banks added 25,000 longs and they got rid of 15,000 shorts. Now, the USD yen, at least on the weekly chart, looking extremely similar to the DXY. It's pretty much almost a mirror image at this point. The USDJPY has been just a little bit weaker. So looking at the 4 hour chart, we have very clear 4 hour downtrend right here. So in my opinion, we could be shorting on day trading timeframes. And why day trading timeframes only? Well, there really is no weekly or daily trend. We really only have a 4 hour downtrend. So what that means is we need to trade with the appropriate time frame compared to the 4 hour chart, which would be like a 15-minute or a 5-minute. So I think looking for 15-minute or 5-minute shorts would certainly be okay. And as far as a price target goes for shorts, I don't think that there's anything wrong with targeting this weekly demand at 128.3. So that's what I'd be doing. I would be just continuing to look for shorts on the day trading timeframes until we can start to get the trends start to change. Now we even have a little 1 hour supply zone right here. Really not amazing. So I'd actually probably just ignore it and maybe wait for new supply zones to be formed. So I would just be looking on 1 hour charts, waiting for new 1 hour supply zones to be formed and looking for day trades inside of those, and just looking for maybe set and forget trades on 1 minute, 5-minute, 50-minute charts as well. Because at the end of the day, we have very strong 1 hour downtrend, 4 hour downtrend with very, very clear profit target down at about 128.3, or even it's more clear at this daily chart at 129.14. So and as long as we have this 4 hour and 1 hour downtrend, it's day trading shorts all the way on the USD Japanese yen. All right, on to the GBPUSD. The past week, the banks added 3,600 longs and they got rid of 378 shorts. Now, if you guys are on Instagram, check me out on Instagram at FXTelepath if you want to follow with me more closely and personally. So I have been talking about the pound. I've been asking, are we going to see the pound push back down to this weekly demand at 1.16? Well, in my opinion, the evidence is in that we might not be. If you look at a daily chart here, we're actually pulling back up to this daily supply at 1.22 again, where we could see a push down, but I mean, the zone was tested, not tested really that deep at all. So we could see it hold again. As far as trading opportunities go now, if you look at the pound here, if you are bullish, we do have this 1 hour demand zone at 1.21. You can maybe look for a 5-minute day trade coming off of that 1 hour demand. I think that would be okay. As far as the 4 hour chart goes, if you take a look here, we almost have a 4 hour uptrend. So if you're looking at the 4 hour chart, I would actually prefer to see this higher move first before we get in long, but if we do pull back to this 4 hour demand at 1.19, it could be a decent time to look for a little dip buying opportunity on a day trading time frame. Or if we remove this supply above at 1.22, and if we're left with new 4 hour demand here, you could use this 4 hour demand to look for a long in. So remember, that demand will be available for people who have my daily chart analysis. So that's what I'd be waiting for in the pound here. We're either going to wait for a pullback or wait for supply to be removed before we just continue to hop in long on the pound, because we also have daily supply above that we could be held up by. So I would definitely be trading with caution here on the pound. All right, looking at the USD-CAD forecast. The past week, the banks added 31,000 longs, and they also added 40,000 shorts. Now, on to the USD-CAD chart here. I was really hoping, looking at this daily chart here, that we would get the pullback down to 1.36 to this daily demand. It is certainly still possible that we do push down to it, and if we do, I think there's even a higher chance that we do actually move off of that demand like this because of this structure down here. So I'm still kind of waiting for that on USD-CAD. You could definitely look for a little swing trade coming off that daily demand if we do push down to there, but at the end of the day, we had a downtrend on the 1 hour chart, and we had this 1 hour demand that was responsible for removing the downward trend line. And look at the move off of that demand like that. So I alerted the Diamond members about this demand zone that you can maybe look for a day trade off of that. So I'm pretty sure some of them got involved in that area. So hopefully they did. But that demand zone is being respected right now. So there's really no evidence, in my opinion, that we will be pushing down to that daily demand. Really, the only evidence is this supply zone at 1.38 that's still holding. So if we push up to the supply again, we continue to react off of it like that, then I think, hey, you know, it's probably possible we do push that back down to that daily demand. But if we push back up to it and we break it, then I think all signs are pointing to the upside in the USD-CAD that we could continue to push up. Now, obviously, I am bearish the US dollar long term. So obviously, yes, we could expect a push back down, but a little bit of a confusing time on USD-CAD here. At the end of the day, I would just be monitoring what happens around this 1 hour demand zone and around this 4 hour supply zone to see, you know, what zones are being respected and what zones are being pushed through. And it'll definitely help you with your trading decision here on USD-CAD. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to trade it because it's confusing, that's completely fine, and it's actually the signs of a very mature trader. So whenever I see a chart like this where very confusing times, not really sure what to do, and I think waiting is the best decision, then, like I said, waiting is most likely the best decision on USD-CAD. All right, on to the Aussie US dollar. The past week, the banks added 15,000 longs, and they also added 15,000 shorts. Now, just like the pound, there was this weekly demand I thought we could push back down to, but the Aussie's actually been weaker than the pound, and we almost contacted the weekly demand on the Aussie US dollar, and I think there's still definitely a possibility we see that. Now, as far as a top-down analysis goes, like I just showed you the weekly chart, there is evidence that we could see the Aussie US dollar continue to push down. We do have this daily supply right now that's in control at 0.67, and as you can see, we are already reacting to the downside off this daily supply. That does not mean we just want to short this daily supply. What that means is that we want to actually go down to a lower time frame to look for confirmation. I know I mentioned confirmation a lot. If you don't know what that is, check out my trading tips playlist on and I do have a few confirmation trading videos in there that can certainly get you guys started on the confirmation trading journey. So what that means is this is what I would be looking for at a bare minimum on the Aussie US dollar. We pretty much have, I'm actually going to draw it, we actually have a 1 hour uptrend and a 4 hour uptrend on the Aussie US dollar. I'm seeing this demand zone at 0.66666. That is kind of funny. So what I would be needing to get in short is I need this demand removed. And what I would actually be better is if we push down to this demand, react off of a bit, and then break it. And then any 1 hour supply zone that is responsible for removing this demand, that is your 1 hour confirmation coming off of the daily supply that I just showed you guys. So then we would be trading the pullback up to that 1 hour supply. So at a bare minimum, this is what I need to see on the Aussie US dollar. Now, the most conservative confirmation would actually be a clear shift in momentum on the 4 hour chart like this, but obviously price is so much lower at that point, it's better to actually take the risk up higher at that 1 hour supply if we do get it. Now in the meantime, we do actually have a 4 hour supply zone holding that is located right at the daily supply. So I think that's why we're starting to see a reaction to the downside. Now, if we remove this 4 hour supply, then I think that's a good indication that, you know, that daily supply I pointed out is actually going to break to the upside. So we're going to have to monitor what happens on the 4 hour chart and the 1 hour chart here. And as far as longs go, I wouldn't even even consider going in long until we can get that daily supply removed, which would be the ultimate indication that the Aussie dollar is going to continue to push up by removing that daily supply. So for shorts, we need to at least see the 1 hour demand removed. For longs, we need to see the daily supply removed. All right, looking at the USD Swiss franc, the CHF, the past week the banks added 581 longs and they also added 3,150 shorts. So as far as a weekly chart goes, we certainly have profit margin to the downside and to the upside. So that is the first thing we need to look at. And looking at the daily chart here, definitely very confusing times. Not loving this price action that we've been seeing. We're clearly just respecting supply and demand, but that doesn't mean we really want to be trading it. And right now we're actually kind of sitting in the middle, so it's very difficult to be trading the USD Swiss right now. But you know, I'm on here to kind of forecast, I guess. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the lower time frames, and really the only zone that I see that we could possibly get a move off of is this 4 hour area of demand that is located at 0.915. On the 4 hour chart. So if we do push down to this 4 hour demand, I'm not in love with the idea of just hopping in long at that 4 hour demand zone with a buy order, stop loss, and take profit, because there's really no multiple time frame analysis to support that, you know, this 4 hour demand is going to hold. The higher time frame analysis that I would need for this to make sense to get in long would be, let's say we had a weekly uptrend and we were pulling back down to this 4 hour demand. Then yes, 100%, I think looking for longs, just set and forget, would be perfect. But that is not the case. So to be very clear, for longs, I would just wait for this 4 hour demand to be hit and we can look for longs coming off of it. For shorts, I need to see this demand removed. And then at that point, if we have a 4 hour supply, I will have that on my chart for the members and we could look for a short coming off of that 4 hour supply. All right, on to crude oil. The past week, the institutions got rid of 3,400 longs and they added 9,287 shorts. Now, unfortunately, I was stopped out of all my positions on oil. I did take profit on the one, so the damage was not that bad. And obviously, the gold trade very much made up for the loss here on oil. And honestly, I think it's fine. We still are inside of a very, very high time frame demand zone, and we are currently pushing back down to this weekly demand. Now, this weekly demand isn't great, but at the end of the day, I still actually am bullish on oil. I know that might sound crazy, but I am based on my macro chart analysis. There are a few options for longs. We need to see this daily overall daily downtrend and momentum shift to the upside. That is like the ultimate buy signal on oil. Now, there are more aggressive signals for getting in long. One would be this, looking at the 4 hour chart, if we can actually get this 4 hour supply and the 4 hour downtrend removed, then I think hopping in long early at that 4 hour demand could be a decent idea. But obviously we need to wait for that to play out. And as far as shorts go, I'm really not loving it based on the higher time frame. Yes, we do have trends on a 4 hour, daily, 1 hour. I get it. I think looking for shorts on like day trading timeframes could be okay, but based on my macro chart timeframe analysis, we are inside higher timeframe demand on oil, and we could certainly push to the upside. Obviously, there are a lot of factors that could factor in the price of oil, so it is definitely a difficult instrument to trade. That's why I mostly just look at the charts. And even on the daily chart here, we broke this sideways price action to the downside. So it all could just be a fake out, react off the weekly demand, and then push up. So that's why I'm still bullish on oil. We just need to wait for the appropriate confirmation, which will probably come within this week, if anything. So stay tuned for next week's Forex Forecast to see what's going on oil. I hope you guys found this weekly Forex Forecast helpful. If it did, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe if you are new to the channel. And as always, check out the YouTube and Patreon membership if you want to get my daily chart analysis and much, much more.